actual internet itself is table stakes. It's the experience that you can provide when delivering it. If everybody in the food chain essentially knows you're there and is aware of you, but never has to think about you, that's success as an internet service provider, especially from a resident perspective.
Today's conversation explores why internet infrastructure is no longer a utility, but a strategic lever real estate investors can use to boost NOI, streamline operations, and future-proof their multifamily assets. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Freedom Blueprint. I'm Adrienne Green, and today we're here with Adam Bell. Here, we focus on how real estate entrepreneurs break free of the grind using leverage, support, and smarter strategies. Let's go ahead and jump in. So, Adam, thank you so much for joining me today.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
And to ground everybody as we get started, can you briefly explain how you work with multifamily real estate investing today?
Certainly. The company that I run is called Internet Subway. We provide internet services for multifamily communities. That's an oversimplified version. We're really an experience provider, and that experience unlocks value for the property owner, operator, and for the resident in a bunch of different ways.
That's really cool. And so I know that most real estate investors are still treating internet as a basic utility, right? All that matters is maybe that we have it fast enough for our guests or our tenants, and that's about it. Why is that mindset limiting portfolio performance?
People live in these places. It's their homes. And so it's a lot more about experience than just a utility. A good example is that when you move into your home, whether it's an apartment or other, you want the water to work. You want the power to work, especially in an apartment. You want to move in and those things work. The same thing with the internet. You want it to just work. And that's part of the experience. It's part of the move-in experience. It's part of the experience of living in your home. And especially in a multifamily community, your home is not just your bedroom, living room, and kitchen. You've got amenities that extend your home environment all the way to the gym, the pool, to the leasing office, to maybe some business offices where you might work out of. So your home is the community. It's not just your four walls, so to speak. So it's all about the experience, not just the internet service. So if they're treating it like a utility, they're missing out on the experience component.
Right. It's funny, what my mind goes to as you share that is I remember visiting a friend who lived in a multifamily community, and one of their community amenities was this room that had those like really nice massage chairs. And it seems so silly, but I mean, we visited her in 2024, 2 years ago, and my kids and I still periodically mention those massage chairs. So yeah, what you create in the experience and community. And we didn't even live there. We just visited someone.
Exactly.
But it can really make a difference.
They spend a lot on design, aesthetics. It's all about crafting that experience. And underlying a lot of that is a foundation of solid internet. There's technology all around you in a multifamily community today.
And I'm kind of curious, so with the internet service that you provide, how is that different from the standard run-of-the-mill internet?
Well, that's a loaded question. But we provide what we call the next generation of managed Wi-Fi. So we didn't invent the model. We have crafted a model that is tailor-made for property owners, property operators, property teams, as well as residents. And we did that with a lot of software and experience and putting the right people in the right places. So it comes down to acknowledging the process, the stakeholders, and how do you implement those things to achieve the outcomes and experiences that you want to deliver. So what we've done is not just provided the internet service that other people have been able to do, but to deliver the entire experience to all the people in the food chain. It's not just like, hey, we give internet to the residents, or hey, the property has internet in the clubhouse, or there's Wi-Fi at the pool. It's all of those things. And we're a partner to the property. So if they're like, we're going to add cameras throughout the property, we say, great, where do you need internet? Right? So it really unlocks the future of what the property might want to do from a property technology perspective. If they want to add smart access control systems, or if they want to add, occupancy metering or monitoring to see whether there's people who are using the amenities that they're spending money delivering. So yeah, It's powerful.
That's amazing. And I realized that, that wasn't a question that we had discussed before, but based on what you'd said so far, I was really curious. And I love what you shared because I will say, as somebody who travels full time and I'm often, so every place, we're often in a new place every 2 to 4 weeks, right? This is a rare, right now we're in some place for 3 months. It's a rare treat. And I do appreciate that they have great internet here, but I have seen how bad the internet is in a lot of places. And the average person who's going to operate something like a multifamily, like internet is not their expertise, right? So this is an opportunity for them to bring in somebody who's an expert and just erase that friction point. And like you're saying, add these other layers of value and these other things that you don't even think about that could be there. In addition to just providing that great internet for all of the, I guess, stakeholders or people who are potentially at that property in any
The
capacity.
actual internet itself is table stakes. It's the experience that you can provide when delivering it.
Right.
If everybody in the food chain essentially knows you're there and is aware of you, but never has to think about you, that's success as an internet service provider, especially from a resident perspective, right? If they move in, they're online, and they literally never have to think about the internet throughout the entire duration because it always works, that is success.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. As I think of all the places where we've been where it's like we're having to because we often stay in like Airbnbs or something. And it's like we're having to reach out to the host to be like, hey, if the door's closed, the internet doesn't work in this room. Or the internet only works in the living room and not the other half of the house. Or all those fun things. So, and it's such a pain point because we depend on it so much. Yeah.
You forget how dependent you are on it until you don't have it. And so your Airbnb scenarios are real life. And that's the kind of thing that you can avoid with proper design in a community that you own, right? You can say, look, I want my residents to have a high quality experience, and I want to deliver a touch-free experience, property team environment so that they're not dealing with it, but they get the luxury of using the backbone and having residents get online and the day they move in, right? So there's a lot
Mhm.
of advantage to having a service like ours.
Right. Now, I've shared my own challenges, right, with Airbnbs and things like that. I'm curious what you've seen on your end, how poor connectivity and issues can create friction for people like the property managers, the leasing teams, the maintenance staff, everybody who's working there in addition to the residents.
Their job relies on it, right? So they're signing leases on a daily basis. Their maintenance technicians are taking tickets and repairing issues around the property, and all of that runs through a software platform that requires internet access. So they've got to
Mhm.
have app access or computer access for them to pull their tickets or for them to sign leases with residents. So the entire operation of what it needs to happen on a day-to-day from a multifamily perspective requires internet to function appropriately. But then there's all
Right.
of the other stuff that happens at a property, right? You've got smart locks now in a lot of places. You've got smart thermostats. You've got all of the prop tech, okay? I don't want to just list it all, but there's all kinds of property technology that is dependent on internet service. Now, a lot of them will still work without internet, but all of the smart features would go away without internet access. And so
Mhm.
on a day-to-day, you can imagine the amount of chaos that could happen if internet access to any one of those things went out or was
Right.
unreliable. And that didn't even touch on the fact that people live in these apartments and people work from home. So you
Mhm.
have to have reliable internet. It's crucial, I would say. It's a critical service.
Well, and I think of how disruptive it was with that Verizon outage that happened recently. All right. I'm not in the US, so I didn't have to experience it, but I heard it's such a big deal. Like, I read the Wall Street Journal article about it. I had several people in my sphere talking about it, and it was a huge game changer. I think that shares your message for you.
I experienced it myself, actually, and I was in SOS for a while. But, Verizon has been incredibly reliable throughout the years, so I don't want to throw shade. And it
Yeah.
happens. It happens. I think that can show that it happens to the best of them because Verizon is
Right.
a top tier provider and their track record has been incredible, but it was not good. It was not
Yeah.
good, not a good situation for anybody. That You're like, wow, this is odd because it hasn't happened in so long
Mm.
and it's so impactful. So
It highlights how
that's critical.
everything in our world depends on the internet now.
Yeah.
Really.
Yep. It was an odd experience being in my car without maps or GPS or my Apple CarPlay functional. It was bizarre.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, from a systems perspective, I love systems in that viewpoint. I think that's really important for real estate investors and entrepreneurs to think about things from a system wide thing. What changes when internet is designed intentionally instead of just reactively or checking the box?
They ultimately will save a lot of money, but it really starts with the design, right? If you're a developer or a builder and you're pouring a lot of money into a ground up development, you really ought to invest in low voltage designs. The mentality is changing, but in the past, low voltage designs were an afterthought, and they might be additional markup on an electrical set. Smart developers are creating full blown low voltage drawings. Light energy or limited energy, I think, is actually the new name. I think it just got changed. Instead of low voltage, I think we now refer to it as limited energy. That's a whole other topic. The plans themselves, they have, where do the cables go? Where does the Cat6, where does the fiber go? Where does the access control systems go? Where do the meters, monitors, all the things that need internet, where are they in this building? They're an integral part. And so putting those plans together, making sure that you have the right infrastructure when you're building the community, enables you to have that back and to choose the provider that's going to operate that backbone that you've put in the ground, and throughout the buildings. And so it really sets you up for success. Now, we help owners to do that, as well as like retrofit buildings with that don't have that infrastructure to have that infrastructure going forward.
That makes a ton of sense to me. And in answering that, you said something that I know would make a lot of real estate investors' ears perk up, which is you said ultimately they'll save a lot of money. So that might be, I could see listeners being like, oh yeah, that sounds nice, but I'm going to pay a huge premium for it and I'm not going to get the ROI. So can we speak about that ROI piece of it?
Certainly. So I'm going to go very high level, but when you don't install the infrastructure yourself and you choose, let's say, a Comcast, Cox, Verizon, AT&T, Charter, Spectrum, Optima, one of the largest players in the country, and you say, hey guys, come in and provide internet service for my residents. They set up service and you might get a small revenue share of the services that they sell to your residents. Call it 7 to 10% is average. Okay. So it's not a lot, but you don't have to do anything. It's fairly hands-free, but you do not own the infrastructure. And the majority of the revenue goes right back to the big telecom and big broadband. And if you install the infrastructure and you enable a certain provider, the economics are flipped. And the majority, the lion's share of that revenue no longer goes to big telecom, it goes to property owner or property itself. And so it completely flips the math. And so a small portion of it goes to the operator who's operating the network that you installed. And the majority of the profits from the operation go to the property itself. So it's a massive NOI generating machine, and the ROI is often very quick. But even long-term, the reason it'll save you money, the reason I said it in the first place was I mentioned that we do retrofits for communities that don't have them. So at some point during a life of a community, you're going to have a realization that it's better to own that infrastructure. And when you do, and you need to get it done, you've got to pay again to have the property retrofitted. And it's often more expensive to do a retrofit than it is to do it during new construction. So if you do it right and you put the right infrastructure in place in the beginning, you save money, not just day one, but 10 years down the road, you don't have to put anything new in to keep up with the Joneses.
I get it. Thank you. Great explanation. And so I'm thinking, if I was a multifamily investor listening to this, I'd wonder, okay, what property sizes is this a good fit for? So, you're talking about this in your service. Is this something like, if I've got a small multifamily, at what point does it start to become worth it to work with you guys?
I think there's all kinds of solutions out there for property owners that have, but our model specifically makes the most sense when it's over 150 units in a particular density. The type of service that we bring redundant connectivity to a property, and it's reliable and resilient, but we can't deliver that service at the prices that we want to deliver for, 50 units. We can do it for 100, we can do it for 150 even better, but the economics start to make the most sense when it's 150 or more in a particular density.
If you're a real estate entrepreneur trying to scale while doing everything yourself, there's a better way. The Time and Freedom Starter Pack gives you the exact first steps to reclaim hours each week with real support, including what to hand off, where to start, and simple tools you can put into place right away. Download it for free at adrienngreen.com/starter pack. Now let's get back to the episode. Right. And so for our listeners who maybe are doing smaller multifamily or single families, I think there's still some lessons learned and some big picture ideas here for the importance of internet and thinking about it strategically and everything you're sharing as well. And for those
I don't want to turn anybody off. There are companies that can provide some similar services for smaller communities as well. And I encourage you to look into those solutions because you can provide similar results. They might not be they aren't going to provide the same level of returns as my type of company, but they will provide you a better experience and more NOI than zero. So I still
Right.
encourage you to investigate that in your local market. If you own smaller communities, it is possible.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, there's lessons learned here for everyone to learn and apply and see what they can do within their property. But of course, there's going to be economies of scales and the larger one that makes sense here. Now, my other question for you, if for people who are listening, is your service nationwide? Is it in certain markets? What does that look like?
Today, we're up and down the East Coast and as far west as Alabama. We'll be launching in Texas later this year, but not nationwide today. We launch and expand with demand. And so when we work with new customers and they have assets in different locations, we strategically expand. But it doesn't happen overnight. You've got to build up the resources in those locations so that you can properly support those communities. And so it starts
Of
there.
course.
And so all we're currently East Coast and Southeast. I would say half of the Sun Belt, but working our way through it.
And how long have you been doing this?
3 years, just shy.
Okay. And I'm curious, we kind of just launched into, I think, a lot of the logistics and the quantitative and everything, because that's a lot of how I think. But I'm curious, how did you get into this?
Well, after college, I started a managed service provider, meaning I would break fix computer repair and manage services for college campus on the Virginia Commonwealth University campus. And so people would bring in
Yeah.
computers, we would fix them. People needed websites, I would build them. People needed IT support for their business, we provided it. And I ran that for a number of years, but I was a little bit bored, honestly. And so had a team of people who were operating the business. And so I did various things during that time. In 2011, I opened a restaurant. That was a lot of fun. In 2013, I opened a second computer shop location. In 2015, I started working with an internet service provider that does wireless internet service. It was a really interesting idea. I learned a lot about it. I got really intrigued. In 2017, I joined an internet service provider that does multifamily internet service explicitly. And that's all they did. I helped them with business development. I helped them grow from where they were to pretty substantial size. It was a learning experience, loved every minute of it. During that time, I met my current partner who owns several thousand apartments, and we got to talking and saying, like, is there a better way that we can accomplish this multifamily internet service experience? And we crafted the machine that is Internet Subway today.
I love it. And so you brought the internet experience, and it sounds like your partner brought a lot of the multifamily real estate investing experience. So you
That's
had
exactly
both
right.
pieces covered.
That's exactly right. And we wouldn't have been able to build what we built without that insider knowledge, so to speak, right? Like what we built is completely tailor-made for multifamily property owners, asset managers, regional property managers on site, maintenance techs. We literally built a platform that applies visibility and tools for everyone in it. And I'm not just talking about a portal. I'm like, there's a process that includes everyone in the food chain so that everyone's aware and has the right type of resources to work with us as a partner, not just some vendor who shows up and screws things up in their mind. We don't want them to think about us like that. We want them to be like, we love these guys. They're very communicative. We have all the information we need. Our residents are happy. We provide value in a number of different ways. And it's not just internet. It's the experience that accompanies it to everybody who's involved.
I think as a real estate investor who has dealt with service providers on both ends of that spectrum, ones who you're like dreading that you have to deal with because you know how incompetent they are, and then the ones who really do have a passion and care about quality and how different the experience is in dealing with those situations. So like what you're saying, I'm like, I get that. It adds value to our experience. Now, I'm curious, as you have 3 years here under your belt, I'm sure that what you're doing now isn't the exact same as it was in day one. Our listeners always love the, oh, here's where things went wrong. Here's where things were a hot mess. And here's what we changed because of it. Do you have any like that?
Yeah, I mean, of course. So I'll start by saying that we have the luxury of starting our business as an EOS organization. It's an entrepreneurial operating system. We run it's Traction, if you're familiar. It's a book that was written by a guy named Gino Wickman. It gives us process, tools, accountability for the entire team. And it gets us rowing in the same direction. And so we solve problems quickly, we identify them quickly, and we get a lot accomplished in a quarter. And so some of the direction that we've taken has changed from day one, but also the things that we think are most important dramatically change, right? Like what we call rocks, you have to really protect them as rocks. And so I'll give a story. When we started, we knew that we needed to build a software platform, and we had a base software platform, like a Wi-Fi management experience that we wanted to wrap around and bring in all these other tools and features and property management software integrations and things like that. So we started with this property management software integration, and we said, okay, now we're empowered. We have all these tools, but how do we actually make them functional? And then we built all of the things that you would need in order to make this tool functional. And you say, oh crap, now we've got all these tools. Like, how do we bring the people who are going to use these tools in? But we need to bring them in just far enough because they don't really care. I mean, they do care, but this is not their day to day. They need to know enough. They need to have resources, but this is not what they really care about. And so then we had to build that. And you don't learn that overnight. It's like, and you don't build that overnight. It's like, all right, well, we're operating this business and we need to continuously improve and to continue to add value. But because we're an EOS organization, everything is process-based and documented. Because we documented from the beginning, it's very easy to iterate. It's very easy to point to, oh crap, we ran this process, right? And it broke down on step 4. So we need to figure out why that process broke down on step 4 so that when we run that process again, we don't break down on step 4. So a lot of lessons learned, and lucky to have a launch partner in year one and year 2 that allowed us to work through their portfolio. And it was awesome to have a partner that worked with us and gave us some grace while we were making this thing what it is today.
Well, and I think what you shared there are takeaways for every real estate investor or entrepreneur who's listening, right? Like, it was speaking to me. I know even when I was an active real estate agent with a real estate team, that same process of like, we're tracking everything so we can see where it breaks, so we know how to fix it. We're looking at the data and the stats. It is transformational in being able to have that data to be able to then improve. And that's something I think every real estate entrepreneur could take away from this call and go back and apply to whatever they're doing right now.
You have to inspect it, right? So track what's important.
Yep. Yes. Now, to think about technology in the future, what technology shifts would you say, in your wisdom, because you are the tech guru here, should multifamily investors be preparing for now to avoid costly retrofits later?
Back to what I said, the best thing they could do is to really get with the program and get your low voltage design, your limited energy design plans in place so that when you start, putting shovels in the ground and building those communities, that they have the right infrastructure from day one. Put microduct in. Microduct is a small tube that goes from a home to a closet, but it's just a small duct that's about the size of my finger that you can pull fiber through. And as long as you have a pathway that you can bring connectivity to a home, that's going to save you a lot of money in the future. Like investors, building buildings, anybody, put microduct in. Don't skimp.
Right.
That sounds very specific, but I promise you, like if you're building communities, put microduct in. Talk to your builders and say, guys, I heard that I need to install microduct for my apartment back to a closet. If you do that, it's going to save you a ton of money in the future, and you're going to have a lot more choice than you ever thought you would have.
Yeah, I am like a full believer in this because I will tell you, Adam, my most recent primary residence before we started traveling was a pretty new house. It was built in, I think, 2019, and it was amazing because they had built it. A builder had built it to be their own house, and they had done the tech throughout. Now, obviously, it's different there than it is in multifamily, but we had all the things we needed, right? We had Ethernet plugs in every room. We had great Wi-Fi systems. It was amazing. And when I think of ever having a primary residence again, I'm like, I don't know how I could live with an older house because it's so nice to have these modern builds with all the tech pieces and everything ready and working and amazing.
Exactly. And it's much more efficient to do that when you're building the community. You can always retrofit, but retrofits are much more costly than new construction.
Right. I love it. Okay. Big takeaway, guys. Microduct.
Yes, I love it. Oh, man. This is going to be my favorite recording ever because that's I'm such a nerd. That's a crazy topic for everyone to take away from this. But yeah, man, microduct. It really is, put the conduits in the ground, put the microduct in to going every unit. It's really funny because I put some notes planning for it and I said, LVW plans conduit and microduct. That's awesome.
Well, you got it in here.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. So as we wrap up, Adam, if an investor wants to stop treating internet like just a basic expense and start treating it like a strategic lever, what is the first step that they should take?
I think the first step they should take is to evaluate their existing agreements with any provider they have at their community. The thing they should remember is that somebody's providing internet to the residents at their communities today. So if you're thinking about implementing something like we discussed, they should look at who currently is in control of that infrastructure at their community. And once they're aware of that, they should definitely like reach out to someone like me and say, hey, let's talk through my options. Sell on anything, but we can talk through what their options are and see if there's a solution that will provide value for them. I think the first step is to find out what you got. The second step is to reach out to a professional to have a conversation.
That makes sense. And if somebody would like to reach out to you because maybe they do have a multifamily in your service area, or they just like to learn more, connect, or say, thanks for the microduct tip, what is the best
Yes.
way for them to connect with you?
LinkedIn is always pretty easy. I'm not necessarily the best at messages, but pretty easy to find. Adam Bell, just like Taco. You can also check out my website, which doesn't have any content, but has the links to how to email me and contact me. It's adamlloydb.com, ADAMLLOYDB.com.
Okay. And we'll have all that in the show notes for everybody. Well, thank you so much. This has been a really fun episode. So I appreciate it, Adam.
Thank you for having me. I love talking about this stuff.
And for all of our listeners, thank you for joining us on another episode of the Freedom Blueprint. I'd love for you to think about, who do you know who would benefit from hearing Adam's story? Go ahead and just send this over to them right now so they can listen as well. And then go ahead and join us again next week for another episode of the Freedom Blueprint.